So you think we're better off as black people now than we were before LBJ passed those policies?
Yes, brother. We can vote without the threat of violence. Are you talking about the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Is that what you're describing as a negative thing?
I'm not saying the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was. I'm talking about.
That's LBJ. I just want to be clear. That's LBJ who you said, were we better off before LBJ? LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
I'm talking about the war on poverty.
I just want to answer that one. I want to answer that specific one first. Was the Civil Rights Act of 1964 a bad thing?
I agree with the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Thank you.
But at the same time, I'm also, put like this, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery.
I don't know what that means.
I'd rather deal with the dangerous freedom of not knowing and controlling people with policies as much as possible versus the peaceful slavery of being married and tied to the government.
Given Trump's well-documented history of saying and doing racist things, I wanted to know how these black people could be drawn into Trump's political orbit. I learned a lot about black Republicans, and I think you will too. So with that, let's dig in.
The black community will be the first community to take the mark of the beast. Oh, did she just say that? Oh my gosh. Yes, I said it. And let's get into it. So the reason I say that is because the black community depends so much on the government and listens to everything the government tells us. And we are brainwashed. We think that slavery is done. No, we're living in modern day slavery. And Charlie Kirk was trying to wake black Americans up. But instead of listening to his message, y'all want to call him a racist. Y'all want to say all this stuff about him instead of listening to his words and actually listen instead of saying, oh, no, I heard this and I heard that. And that's what our problem is. Okay? But y'all ain't ready for this. So when y'all ready,
Hey guys, it's Leash. Listen. So, God, why? I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. So, like, apparently there's this whole push for MAGA folks. I'm assuming it's, and let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming it's just white males of the MAGA movement that have been attempting to go, or are attempting to go into black churches to protest because of the sermons that were preached by certain black ministers about Charlie Kirk that was not to MAGA's liking, right? Like, so you're going to go into these houses of worship to do what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going in there to, you know, interrupt worship of God. You're going in there to cause commotion in the house of the Lord. For y'all to constantly profess that you are, you know, Christian, and listen, we're finding out that some of the MAGA folks aren't Christian, or right wing rather, you know, depending on these labels, so many labels. But anyway, what is the, and then on top of that, what is the point? Like, because folks don't agree with who Charlie Kirk was and how he, you know, would say so many vile things about black folks and other marginalized groups. So people are supposed to just deal and take that? Listen, do yourself a favor. Go to your house of worship and pray on it and do what you got to do. But just coming in and being so, like, ridiculous and you know, trying to bogart your way into a house of worship because you feel like you have to do whatever you feel like you have to do, because I don't even understand what the hell's happening. Like, what? This is, when they keep saying, when I say they, I'm just talking about just this, what we're seeing in terms of the common denominator, in terms of the issues in this country and the violence in this country and the toxicity in this country. I'm just going to say it, guys. It's the MAGA folks. It's these folks that are out here with this racist ideology, and folks that are upholding the white supremacy. You are the common denominator. You are the problem. Beyonce is right. America has a problem, and the problem is this right-wing craziness. Get it together. Like, not everybody has to agree with y'all. If you like Charlie Kirk and you want to, like, go and, celebrate his life and legacy, then do that shit over there. Leave us out of it.
Here are some updates from my previous video about the Maga couple who got an innocent black man arrested in DC this past week. And just to bring you up to speed, this couple pictured here, Joel Tenney and his wife Sarah Elizabeth, accused an innocent black man of claiming that he was going to unalive her and their baby. They made this false claim while literally being 1 to 2 blocks away from the White House, which is currently heavily policed. The second update is the black man in this video, and I could only get a quick screen grab, was charged with felony threats with a hate bias enhancement. Based on information I received, this man has no prior record. I have found Joel's Facebook, Joel's LinkedIn, his TikTok, and his Instagram. And it is very apparent that his intention was to incite violence. Mentioning in his Instagram caption, with all these race-motivated unalivings and the death just yesterday of Charlie Kirk. Meanwhile, we all have seen who unalived Charlie Kirk, which was not somebody that was outside of his race. And Joel Tenney has yet to correct that caption. On a post that Joel Tenney put on his Facebook page, which was far different from his Instagram, he mentions the Ukrainian woman that was unalived by a black man on a bus. And even mentions that Wonder Breads are now the minority race of the world, and how they are marginalized and suffer from bigotry and racism. Because of the contacts that I have in the work that I do in DC and just overall grassroots, we are going to ensure that the brother that was unlawfully arrested because of this couple and their false claims, that he gets some semblance of justice.
Why is it that when you ask some black folks on the Trump train why they support him, the first thing they do is trash black people? It's never about policy. It's not about strategy. It's black people are lazy. Y'all love being victims. Democrats keep y'all on the plantation. Really? Your support can't even stand on its own. It has to stand on the backs of your own people. You talk about free thinking, but all you're doing is repeating white conservative talking points that were never made for you, just marketed at you. You call it freedom, but it looks a lot like performance. And this whole colorblind thing, it's a lie. Because the moment y'all show up with Blacks for Trump shirts and photo ops, suddenly race matters again. Suddenly your blackness is useful as long as it's obedient. But when we talk about redlining, mass incarceration, underfunded schools, generational poverty, now you want to pretend none of this is real? See, you can support whoever you want, but if your support requires you to downplay or deny the truth of being black in America, then it's not support. It's submission. And here's the question you can't answer. What has Trump actually done for you? Not what has he said, not what has he promised. What has he done tangibly, specifically for you or our community? I'll wait. Because while you're busy defending him, he's too busy defending January 6th criminals, calling for political revenge and protecting billionaires. He's not thinking about you. So again, support who you want, but don't sell your soul trying to be accepted by people who only value you when you're quiet, compliant, and useful. And again, don't forget to ask yourself, what has Trump done for you anyway?
And MAGA, you need to hear this. I don't know why y'all think y'all Republicans. If y'all was just Republicans, I wouldn't have such a big issue with y'all. Y'all are not Republicans. You're not conservative. You don't want less government oversight. You want more government oversight. You putting troops in different cities, and you're enjoying it. You got monitoring spirits all over your phone. They taking over the apps that you go on. They taking over all of the technology. It's billionaires in control. Like, you don't want less government oversight. That's what a real Republican would want. A real Republican would want conservative values, not a felon. A real Republican is against crime. They wouldn't have a felon in office with rumors, more than just rumors, list of children that he had at pageants. And what do we talk? Y'all ain't no Republicans? What happened to the good old boys? Y'all making me miss George Bush. What the hell? You don't have no Republican conservative conservative values. Look, there was multiple parties. There was like 6 different parties in Germany back in the day. And there was this one bright idea to just have this one party and you never have to vote again. You know the name of that party? I can't think of it right now. There is no particular values of the MAGA party. It's just misogyny and racism and xenophobia. That's it. Like, there's no like real values. It's just hate.
Hello everyone, it's Anthony. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's amazing having you here, and let's make our analysis. Black Maga are delusional. They literally are delusional. Let me ask you a question. How many black billionaires do we have? Excluding sportsmen, musicians, these sports, these musics were all introduced, funded, and promoted by the government to keep us in check. Focus.
It's hopeless. Trying to debate and persuade and reason with not only MAGA nuts, I'm going to include conservatives, Christian nationalists, of course, Republicans. I'm putting them all in one big homogenous blob. Rod, you're generalizing. Absolutely, yes, I am. These people have proven time and time again that they are beyond hope. They have reached a new level of delusion and insanity. And they have proven time and time again that even if they are harmed by their own ideologies, they will follow their orange Lord and Savior through the very gates of Hades, and many will, before it's all said and done. This nation has always been evil, bottom line. And foundational Black Americans, we know the truth. Everybody else can get caught up in the propaganda, like the holiday that was just celebrated the other day. But we know better, don't we? And the evil has never gone away. The soulless have now truly been unleashed to indulge in their depravity. What do you think, folks, are going on in these detention centers? What do you think? All kinds of abuses. And that concentration camp that they are calling Alligator Alcatraz, let me tell you something. Alligator, used in that context, is a loaded term. Because during chattel slavery, Black babies and children were used as alligator bait. Yes, they were. But see, many of you all don't know that because being willfully ignorant and uneducated and miseducated is a badge of honor for millions in this country. That's why we are in the mess that we're in now that was completely avoidable. That is what is so tragic about this entire situation that this nation is in. All of this was avoidable. So again, I say it's hopeless. Myself and other Black creators, we don't tolerate MAGA nuts, MAGA morons, conservative folk who try to crawl into the comment sections of our videos. Many of us with extreme prejudice delete their comments and block them whenever we encounter them. Because nope, I'm not wasting my precious time on this earth. And I suggest you don't either. Our time is better spent on other priorities because, again, these people write them off. It's hopeless.
Y'all want to know why nobody takes the word racism seriously anymore? It's because of situations like this. Here you have a league that disproportionately hires Black men and pays them exorbitant amounts of money in order to toss around a pigskin. Or catch, throw, tackle, that sort of thing, right? And I'm not going to knock that. I believe that you're deserving of whatever it is that you pay for. Go ahead and get your paper. However, when you start throwing around the allegations of racism is the reason why this young man right here has not yet been drafted, people tune out. People stop listening. Instead of bringing up any real conversation, we don't get to the bottom of things. So let's go ahead and just park that to the side for a second, right? Because if you're looking at the reality, the statistics per se, more than 90% of those who were drafted in the first round were black. Where was the racism there? Now you want to get into a conversation of, well, you know, there have been cocky quarterbacks, cocky players in the past, and they have been drafted in the first round, high in the first round. They haven't gotten the same sort of treatment. Well, let me break this down. The NFL is indeed a business, and therefore they are hiring employees. Therefore, each team can make a decision as to who are going to be the best fits within their own culture, right? In the same way you are with your job. The higher you go up the corporate ladder, the more it matters how much of a fit that you are for that culture. That's with any business, any industry, it does not matter. So when you have somebody who is going to be a key player, the most important player on that field, I'm not saying human, but most important player on that field, these sort of things matter. Now, let's take it over to something that thankfully people started talking about, which is the influence of his father. Now, Deion Sanders, one of the greatest cornerbacks of all time, greatest players of all time, absolutely. However, Deion Sanders, though he has done all he can for his son, and I commend that, it's a beautiful thing to do all that you can from a place of now having that privilege that you work for, right? But when your son has gone through his entire football career being either coached by you or having you as a sideline coach, that's going to get in the way of things. And when an organization sees something like, oh, this man may very well interfere in everything we do in the very same way he has throughout his son's entire career, that's not going to work over here. It's not only going to be bad for him individually, but for the entire team and the culture, you know, the people it's actually about. The quarterback is supposed to be in service of his team, not the other way around. So, again, if we want to have a serious conversation, argument, let's get into it. Let's get into the nuances of things, right? We can even get into the fact that he chose basically not to participate in some of the combine. He chose not to interview with some of the teams or how he showed up in some of these interviews. These can be conversations that we get into. But racism, that shit is played out.
What happens when the water runs out? What happens when the food runs out? What happens when that shortage is just supposed to be a temporary shortage ends up being a long-term shortage? What happens when that dollar no longer holds its value? BRICS. You should be looking up BRICS. If you don't understand what BRICS is, BRICS. You should be researching that. You should be understanding what that is. What happens when the world no longer cooperates with the United States tyrannical rule? What happens when the ship that you're depending on sinks? What happens when this country collapses? Will you go down with the ship? The problem with a lot of pro-black talk is we don't seem to comprehend the long-term effect. We don't seem to comprehend or think of what's to come in the future. I understand the war talk. I understand the self-defense talk. But where we miss a lot of times is we are encased, engulfed, surrounded by a failing nation, a nation that owes everybody in the world money, a nation that owes everybody in the world something, a nation that is in everybody's business, a nation that is meddling and manipulating everybody's business around the world. And there's a breaking point to this. There's a point, whether if it's China, Russia, Africa, whoever, the many laundry list of enemies this country has, there is a breaking point where everyone will say no more. You can look to Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. You can look at Putin. You can look at China. You can look everywhere in the world. If you are not completely sold, if you are not completely brainwashed and conditioned by American propaganda, and see what the play is. It isn't even so much so warfare physically. It's cyber. It's agricultural. It's mental, emotional. social media warfare. It's all of this. See, everyone knows that the American military is not nothing to play with. So a lot of the other countries and continents are treading on a line while trying to figure out how to combat this enemy. African Americans, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, we're the only ones on enemy soil that have the potential to do the most damage because we're here domestically. So I'm gonna ask again, will you go down with the ship? Because this ship will sink. This ship is sinking. It don't take much research for you to learn that. I want black people, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans to stop with this bullshit. There is no real issue here between black, Native American, Hispanic, okay? There's no real issue. Here's what happens. Black people have a bad experience with Hispanics. Black people have a bad experience with Native Americans. Native Americans have a bad experience with black people. Hispanic people have a bad experience with Native Americans and black people. And then we all just close our doors to each other for good. We have a common enemy. We have common history. There is no reason to shut your doors to each other. Everybody experiences a bad apple in the bunch. But one bad apple in that bunch can spoil the entire bunch. So we have to understand that these self-hatred monsters, these individuals that have been consumed by their own trauma, consumed by their own experiences, and that has been the conditioning method that they've created entire narratives and ideology around. We can't have that. Those individuals are too dangerous for this community because they become harmful and self-destructive to the narrative that we're trying to push forward. If you hope to push forward unity, whether if it's in the black community, Hispanic community, Native American community, you cannot have any self-destructive people in it. You can't have none of the whitewashness, whether if it's black, Native American, or Hispanic. You can't have no sellouts. You can't have none of them halfway pro-black, halfway whitewashed people. You can't have none of it. You have to be very, very meticulous and careful in how you let people in the gate. That is the only place where gatekeeping is good. We have to start gatekeeping this community. You know who contributes? You know who benefits from us being a mess? From us sitting up here trying to tear each other apart every 5 seconds over everything and anything? One group of people. You know who benefits, right? So if you know who benefits, you should be going against it at all costs. At all costs. If I have a problem with black women, that's my issue with black women. I will not sit up here and disparage and disrespect them on social media waves or period, for the simple fact that I know who's watching this. And I know what validation that they're trying to seek out. You got individuals that follow me right now, not just white, black, Native American, Hispanic, whitewashed, sellout individuals that are just waiting in the shadows, that are just watching just to be nosy, that are just watching just to keep tabs on me. They operate on keep my friends close, but my enemies closer. I also understand that lifestyle. I understand the rule. So they can't get out of our business. They can't leave us alone because their very existence as a sellout is dependent upon keeping us underneath a white thumb. And lastly, if you've gotten this far, nothing I ever do for this community will be advertised on the internet. That goes for that video I posted, that video. Nothing I do will be shown. Nothing, no action I take will be shown on the internet. If you have to question that and you don't understand why, you're part of the problem and you need to get the hell off my page.
I'm not currently president of the United States. There's no reason to shout at me. I'm not president. I can't help you. These are exactly the type of corny ass clapbacks that get those low racial self-esteem millennials going. You know, the types to wear a shirt that says, "I'm not my ancestors," hashtag black and educated. They love stuff like this, but this is 2025, and that lack of accountability only appeals to other sellouts. These two feigning powerlessness is pathetic, because what did they do when they did have power? What did Barack Obama do? He expanded the United States military presence in Africa. AFRICOM would not exist without him. He normalized drone warfare and the concept of collateral damage, i.e. civilian deaths being the cost of doing business. Black people in Libya saw change because of his actions. And what about Kamala? All she did was repeat white lies and perpetuate a genocide. And even now, she can't stand with the people and take accountability. She'd rather play victim. See, I'm from an era of black where we admitted that we were voting for Barack Obama because he was black. And I think a lot of y'all need to admit it so you can move past it. Because you know what happened when we found out that Barack Obama was not going to liberate us? That he was, in fact, the exact same type of capitalist we had been warned about, just in black skin? A lot of coping, lots of coping, a lot of apathy. But a lot of us took that apathy and applied it to understanding that it didn't matter who was in office. White supremacy was the goal. The issue was systemic. I'm rooting for everyone black. Shouldn't apply to black people enforcing white supremacy.
Thank you everyone. If you have watched this video to the end, it's amazing having you all here. So one thing I usually say, we had a black president, Barack Obama. What did he do to our community? What did he do? Nothing. Because he too was just planted to make us believe that we too are equal in the society, to make us feel like we can be dreamers in the USA and achieve, which is false, which is a fallacy I can't explain, I can't describe. Their main arguments when joining Maga is that Democratic Party has done nothing to us and that we are crybabies who expect handouts from the government. The same government which would shoot at you randomly at any traffic stop. The same government, despite your status in the society, treats you as a suspect based on your skin color. The same government that is rolling DEI initiatives which were used to rectify decades of inequality in our society, and despite slavery ending in the 1800s, we had to wait for a century later for civil rights to come into effect. A century. And now tell me that we are equal in this society. We aren't. The same government that killed our voices, Martin Luther, Malcolm X, name them. The same government that is cornering us into football, into basketball, into boxing, into rap, forgetting that we have a lot to offer in this society in terms of finance and banking, in terms of technology progress, in terms of what? Say it. Give me in the comments. Except that the game is rigged against us. The same government that is firing black women during these federal firings. The same government that is defunding our education. In essence, that kids in low-income society or neighborhoods depend on free lunches so that they can keep on attending the schools, getting better performance, and education is the only way we can become equal in this society. But still, our education systems in black neighborhoods is under attack. How many black Americans own banks? How many? Where the major financial decisions of civilizations is determined. How many black Americans own major social media sites where major national and world dialogues take place? Tell me, because that is the real influence, not music, not basketball, nothing. Banking and class, banking and technology. This social media where dialogues about us take place. How many black Americans own or run SP 500s? How many? Trump literally hoodwinked us that he was the savior, when in the real essence he was the part and parcel of what has been keeping us down as black Americans for decades. It is the same government of Jim Crow, but now efficient, lethal, silent, and in suit instead of the white clothing. So guys, do your homework, do your research, and until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.